Doug Weiler with Police Magazine. I'm here with my very good friend Don Always. We're here at ILETA 2019 in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's talk about one of the things that's come up in conversation in the hallways and also during some of the seminars that we are attending here this week. Police officers are, unfortunately, subject to ambush attack, increasingly so, it seems. What are some of the things that we're teaching officers to do in order to avoid being ambushed, ideally,
Yes.
and then in the instance where it is an unavoidable situation, responding to the ambush attack in a way that they're successful. And by successful, I mean they survive,
Yes.
and the perpetrator is either perforated or incarcerated.
Neutralized. in some
Neutralized.
way. Yeah.
Exactly. Tell me what your thoughts are on how to train officers in this regard.
Well, if we can, let's step back beyond just the training.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the whole department-wide setup for this. Situational awareness. It begins with situational awareness. And part of that is intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have intel that someone is planning a deliberate attack on police? Some of the ones that have happened in the past, we now look back and say, wow, who didn't see that coming?
Right.
Look at all the warning signs. Just like in most active shooter events, these people planning these things often have what they call leakage, or they broadcast. They're telling people around them.
They telegraph.
They telegraph. They let us know it's coming. So are we paying attention to that? Is our intelligence systems, are they delivering us the information we need in a timely way? So beyond that, what is the officer situational awareness? When we send our officers out there, have we prepared them with the mental mindset that they need to maintain situational awareness as much as possible? Look, we're all human beings. We're not going to be tuned in with 100% situational awareness all the time.
Right.
It's not possible. But then again, the more tuned in we are, the more aware of what's going on around us, the safer we are.
Right.
So whether it be from where we park our cars, sit there and do some work in a parking lot, we're catching up on a report. How are we parking? Where are we parking? Are we aware of what kind of threat we're under? How about when we park our cars responding to a call? Oftentimes these ambushes, they are essentially set up by a low-risk call.
Right.
And do our officers still pull right up in front of the address? What is their mindset when they get out of that car?
Right.
So if it goes back to one single thing that we train the officers, it's got to be that mindset. Now, beyond that, there's going to be things that you're not going, a well set up ambush, you may not see coming.
Right.
So what is your pre-programmed response on that? Have you trained and trained and trained so that your OODA loop can be shortened to the point as soon as that ambush begins, you're going to do what it takes to exit the ambush, return fire, move against the ambush, do as necessary. But exiting the kill zone is a real good start.
Okay.
And sometimes that kill zone is in our car.
Right.
So is our firearms training, is our tactical training taking that into account? How many departments actually let their officers train to drive out of an ambush? That's a very specialized course that very few people get.
You mentioned the car. I have a couple of pet peeves about the vehicle, and I'm sure that you share these. But first I want to get to something that you talked about, training within the car. I was fortunate enough to take private training. It was funded entirely by people who were going there on their own dime
Right.
Which officers typically, get a lot out of.
Yes,
It's
they
not
do.
department training. But we put holes in cars. We had
Yes.
holes being put out of cars. It was one of the most interesting and intense 8 hours of firearms training I've ever had.
Every officer needs to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pet peeves about the car. Number one, too much MDT time.
Yes.
You got your head down here, all of your situational awareness
It's
goes
gone.
out the window.
It's gone.
Number two, parking at a DV call, parking at a domestic, right in front of the house.
Right in front.
It's almost always the time between the approach from the car to the home. That's when these attacks
Yes.
tend to happen. So it's a really good idea to park a block away and come at it sideways. So you can't be seen. You're coming at it from an unexpected angle.
Unexpected, and that's it. Once again, we go back to the OODA loop.
Yep.
We're trying to interrupt the attacker's decision cycle. And if he's expecting one thing and we do something else,
Right.
I mean, that's part of the reason now why we're teaching passenger side approaches on traffic stops, right?
Yeah.
It's to put us at more of a position of advantage. And it's the same thing whether it's a traffic stop or a domestic violence call.
Yeah.
We just don't follow through.
One of our mutual friends, Dick Fairburn,
Yes.
he famously talks about attacking the ambush.
Yes.
And in not responding in from a defensive standpoint, but from an offensive standpoint, and getting
Yes.
in front of, and sometimes we use the term left of bang.
Yes.
Great
Oh,
book. I recommend
yes.
for all law enforcement officers.
Absolutely.
You have to start getting left of bang and moving to where we talked about, where the suspect, is not expecting you.
Yes. The organizations I have taught for, and still do, everything we teach is predicated on the concept of the OODA loop.
Mm-hmm.
That is the observe, the orient, or figure out what you're observing, decide what to do in acting. And if you're a law enforcement firearms instructor and you're not familiar with John Boyd's concept, you need to be. With the ambush, we're behind in our OODA loop versus our attacker. And our goal is, in order to survive that ambush, we have to turn around and get inside his OODA loop.
Yeah.
Whether doing something unexpected or using something like attacking into the ambush to use that speed, surprise, and violence of action to interrupt his OODA loop.
Yeah. Thank you for everything that you do to help our officers out there. All of the training that you do, all of the writing that you do, all of the work that you do. So I deeply appreciate that, and I deeply appreciate your time today.
Likewise, thank you.
Doug Wiley with Police Magazine.